Alright, I think we are back. My apologies for all the issues that we had earlier on. Let's see. Okay, that's all muted, that's perfect. Yeah, it seems like my stream decided to just completely cancel out after OBS froze, and I have been commentating into the abyss. So that was great. Not for you guys, of course. We are seeing that we are in the... What on earth has happened? Okay, I'm going to take you to the race. Looks like the race has already started. Completely ruins everything. I wanted to tell you, I've told you all so much, but of course you didn't hear it. It was pole position for Steven Vasso ahead of Jantos, and I believe it was Kokeni indeed. Let's actually look at the positions that have changed, and indeed that states put ahead Flangrock, Kyer, and Gobadi. Tomasetto Elias gained 1 position. Dimas has gained 3. Lagos dropped 2. And that was 10 for Whitler that also started in, and Labella has gone for an early pit stop along with Gallané, so likely there was damage. There are 2 mandatory pit stops that they have to go for. It looks like the pack is split between mediums and hards. Tomasetto Elia already decided to come in as Vasso sets the fastest lap time too. It is Jantos, Gobadi, and Lago along with Beisner that started on the hards. Tomasetto Elia and Gallané have switched to them, so that means Labella was likely on the hards as well, as he's now swapped over to the mediums. We can get our lap data, of course. Now it's much better. So we have still Steven Vasso leading the race here as he's making his way towards the tunnel. Now Jantos, our championship leader, surely will have something to say about it, but he has to watch his rearview mirrors because Tomás Kokeni is awfully close to the back of him, only 4/10 away. But of course with only 1 DRS sector that we have at the main straight means it will be much more difficult for them to overtake, and likely the fights will be in pit lane where you have to try and make it work. We have at least gone for a dry race now. Qualifying, which, well, you guys sadly missed because of that issue, was out in the wets. You saw drivers having to juggle between wets and inters, where a mix of that seemed to work, but the inters eventually did go fastest. Kokeni's still a little bit further away. Dimas and Whitler have gone for a pit stop as well. But yeah, the pit stops, the strategy here is going to be key. Mandatory 2 pit stops, that is going to be the main talk of tonight, and already looks like some gaps have started to emerge as we do see our top 6 within a second of one another. Lago's just down there as Labella sits the fastest lap time. Gallané does another 2/10s quicker. But it shows going for an early pit stop is not necessarily bad. As long as you are in free air, you can push, you can gain some time, and that's exactly what Dimas has decided to do. And I think Dimas, well, he started on the... No, he started on the mediums, and he is now on the hards indeed. I'll make sure to keep you all updated with the tires, as that will be a key moment. Well, not just a key moment, a key point in this race altogether. Now the gap from Kokeni to Langrock in the meantime has increased. That is now... Well, Langrock has also decided to go into pit lane. Let's see if he has picked up any damage, because it felt like he did. He did lose an awful lot of time in that middle sector, but it looks like his car seems to be a-okay, so he has not picked up any damage, just a regular pit stop. But he's battling right with Dimas. He was quite a bit ahead of Dimas, but now coming out of pit lane, only just slotting out in front of him. So it shows that the undercut, a couple of drivers are trying to make that work, and so far Dimas has at least ensured that he gets to the back of Langrock, and now they can push together because Langrock has a nice clean air gap of 8.8 seconds that he can drive into. Rowson also has another large cushion that he can play with. As for Vasso, who's leading the pack, and he can just look ahead. And I think Jantos will be likely looking to extend his first stint a little bit more, and then go for an offset strategy later on. Maybe even... I'm not sure if any softs are going to come into play. But if you want to try anything with the softs, you'd have to do so in the middle stint, as actually Vasso has come into pit lane. So our race leader has come in. Looks like he's responding to what Langrock did with that early pit stop. And now he wants to make sure that he stays ahead. He will come out between Galindo and Langrock likely. Galindo has now passed. Langrock is still quite a bit away, so he does keep that lead nicely. And 2 seconds in hand is a nice margin that he still has for him. And ahead 5.5 seconds. So he will be driving and will keep driving in clean air. And for Jantos, this is great news because that means he can extend his run on the hards. And he can now push into free air as well, not worrying too much about what the other drivers are going to do. Because the tire offset compared to the driver behind him, Kilkenny, is not big enough for him to warrant an overtake. We do have yellow in sector 2. That was right around the mark of Langrock and Wittler. They are quite close to one another as well. Not entirely sure what happened there. But looks like Langrock at least is ahead of Wittler for the time being, as Kilkenny and Kyer have gone into pit lane as well. So they're directly battling with the guys that have already stopped on the mediums early on. And looks like Ralston has decided to do the same thing. Only Beater is the one staying out on those mediums, being the driver that started on the mediums. Now, in comparison to Langrock, where do they come out? Because that is going to be a key question. And it looks like they've come out behind at least a couple. Kilkenny and Kyer have come out ahead. Ralston and Ramarini have come out behind. So that is the story there. And Labella has also managed to just overtake Ralston. Ralston will be kicking himself for that, because otherwise he'd be in a nice clean air. And now he has to overtake a car with 5 level mediums, as we see a slam in the back from Wittler onto Langrock. But I want to move further up ahead. I want to move over to the other Zalber driver that is trying to play catch up with Zala and Beater. I think Beater will be looking to go for a pit stop in a moment's notice as well. All the other drivers came in quite early. It's only lap 7. But it looks like they wanted to ditch those mediums very early. Beater does continue though. So he's looking to extend that first in and hoping he doesn't lose too much time. He's already 6 seconds down on the race leader Gabor Jantos, who also has a nice 2.8 second gap onto the number 2 man, which is Eif Gobadi. Let's see, further down the line, Ralston is at least trying to get closer to the back of Labella. He's now formed a nice queue, Ralston, together with Gallané and Ramarini. And I actually want to keep an eye on Ralston, because he gets within 2/10, wants to make a move here. That's a very daring move. Huge contact going into 3. He has gone through, but that felt like a push to pass rather than a clean overtake. So there definitely will be an inquiry into that. Nonetheless, it doesn't look like there's any damage to the cars. Actually, there is damage, but that is damage to the attacking car. That is the car of Ralston, who is missing his right front wing end plate. So has sustained a little bit of damage going for that overtake, and it will have to continue all the way throughout the race with that, because I can't see him changing his front wing unless we have some sort of safety car coming out. In the meantime, I do want to see if everything is going nicely with the stream. In the chat, also let us know what you could all see, if you're enjoying the race out there. Who you think, of course, is going to win that race. So we know just a little bit more who we would have liked. Let's see if we're missing anything. Looks like some drivers have indeed alerted of us of the issue that we had earlier on. Issue hopefully no longer pertaining. But yeah, as I said, do let us know. And we're going to move over in the meantime to Carlos Galindo, because it looks like Stephen Vasso has caught up to the back of that Williams. He had a cheeky look there, but he decided to back away. But Vasso wants to get through as quickly as he can, because Kilkenny, Kyer and Dimas are breathing down his neck. So that means the early pit stop from Dimas has made sure he's caught up with the leader. So great strategy from him so far. And Vasso is stuck behind that big Williams up ahead. But surely now with DRS, he's going to get through. He's going to use everything he has in his might to try and get through. Wants to go around the outside, but there's just no space. Can't get through here either. Can't pull a Hulkenberg here either. Still stays behind, has a little look in the inside of 3. Through Casino. No chance still. But we're seeing a massive trade, and down the inside goes Tomás Kokeni. There's a little bit of contact, but thankfully no damage sustained. But hard braking has to ensue almost everyone. Look at that, everyone now catching up with Carlos Galindo. And this is great news for current race leader Gabor Santos, who's yet to make a pit stop. It's Galindo holding up almost everyone. Vaso needs to get through, but he just can't. He can't get through, and it feels like a copycat of the real world race we had this year, where everyone was just stuck behind a Williams. There was no way to get through, even with this tire offset. And being stuck means you lose a heap of time. Peter is now gone for a pit stop. So a very late pit stop on his part. He will come out quite a bit behind all these drivers, but he will likely catch up as the race progresses. Now then, round the outside, a little bit of a tap, side by side they go. There's almost no space going up the hill, but around the outside, Steven Vessel's made it stick, and here comes Kokeni, who has managed to get the move done at the same time. So great anticipation from Kokeni, not wasting any time to get past. And behind him, Daniel Carr wants to go round the outside of the Williams as well. There's no space there, so he will have to wait. He's trying to go for a different line through the hairpin and through the lower section of Mirabor into Poitiers. But he will need to make something work. Maybe now then, outside, exit tunnel. Use as much ERS as you can. Get to the back of that Williams. We'll have to go round the outside. Brakes late. But the Williams defending nicely. A mistake from the Williams now. That means they're side by side. Kyra needs to use all the energy that he has. They still go side by side. This could end in tears. Into the swimming pool section. Still side by side they go. And there was some contact with Galindo, who's pushing it way too hard. He needs to let them go. He needs to let them go there. He's picked up a penalty already. He has sustained a little bit of damage. But that driving was a little bit too aggressive. You are still on your, well, pretty much on your starting tires. He has stopped in lap 1, right? So this is directly for a no, he has not stopped just yet. He's battling with drivers that have already made their pit stop, and he's fighting so hard that it's causing pretty much damage for the other drivers as well for him. So fighting is good, but this is a little bit on the edge, and it makes it also tough for everyone out there. As for Jantas, great news, because the gap to Vaso is now right around the 18-19 second mark. So if he makes a pit stop, he will come out right around where Steven Vaso is. And if he waits long enough, will at least come ahead of Galindo that they were behind of earlier. But here comes Jantas. He's going from the hards onto the hards, so he wants to have a quick final run. But he knows also, with all that squabbling going around earlier, he has a chance to come out ahead, because here is Vaso. Jantas now leaving pit lane. It's going to be close. It's going to be tight. There's Jantas. Where is Vaso? There's Vaso. Gabor Jantas has stayed ahead. Labella has retired. He has crashed. This might be a safety car. He has crashed exit tunnel. Vidler's got a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Looks like the car is no longer there. But that could have been a DRS and one of the worst moments for some of these drivers out there. Can we at least see where it happened? It must have happened there. It must have overshot and hit the wall, or clipped the wall on the left-hand side. But Labella is not in the race anymore, so he's our first retiree of tonight. We have another yellow in Sector 2. That is, I think that is, yeah, it's around the hairpin where a big bunch of the pack currently is. Tomás Kokeni is getting awfully close to the back of Vaso though, but we have a new provisional race leader, and that is Gabor Jantas. So that holding up from Galindo has worked wonders. But yeah, Galindo now finds himself at the back of the grid, and he's yet to make his pit stop. So No happy days for him. Gallané went for a lap 1 pit stop. He's now also moving towards the back. But Kokeni really trying to amp up the pace behind that McLaren. Jantos is starting to pull away, but he now in turn is going to get stuck behind Lucas Beisner. Can he overtake though? He needs to go for a move. Down the inside he goes. Out brakes the Kick Sauber, and he gets through safely, nicely. Great work by our championship leader, and that at least ensures that the drivers behind him can't get too close to him, and he can pull away further. So great moves all the way through. Next on his list is Francesco Lago, but that's another 9 seconds before he gets there. Now we have a little shot of our current race leader. That is Ave Gobadi. He has yet to make a pit stop, but looks like he can at least make his laps around nicely. Let's see, he goes around in a 1:13.5. I want to see how quick Jantos is lapping so we can compare it. So a 13.5 compared to, it's probably 12.7, 12.8 that Jantos is going to set. It's actually an 11.9. So Ave Gobadi is losing 1.5 seconds per lap compared to the drivers that have already stopped. So it looks like extending on those hards is not the way to go. Jantos is going for hard, medium, I can only presume. As for the other drivers, some have already made their pit stop. They're nearing their second pit stop. I wonder what strategy they're going to follow, but I think the hard, medium will be the better way to go here. So now then, we find Beisner. He's already 4 seconds behind Jantos. And yet, Jantos managed to overtake Beisner quite quickly. Vasso then was 2.5 seconds behind him. Now that gap is 5 seconds because he's behind a slower driver that's on older tires. Vasso and Kokeni, of course, are on older tires as well. But with overtaking already being so tough, the tire offset is not enough to go for an easy overtake here. You can close that gap, but you can't go for the move just yet. Now it's going to make their lives more difficult as Jantos now sets the fastest lap time as well, 1:11.3. That's 6 tenths quicker than the previous lap. Beisner, meanwhile, lapping at a 1:14.4. That's 3 seconds slower than our provisional race leader. And he is clawing away at that lead that Lago had earlier on. That was 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds, a lap and a half ago when he made that overtake onto Beisner. Now down to 4.2. So great work by them so far. As I want to see if Bieder is able to get closer to the back of Wittler. That is for a point. Bieder has made his stop not too long ago, as Wittler is on 12 lap old hards. Let's go a little bit on board with the Alpine man as they move into the tunnel. Gap still 4 tenths. Wittler getting close to the back. Ave Gobadi is now heading into pit lane. But I think he's hoping that holding up from Beisner is going to help him. He is actually opted to go for the medium, so he wants to have a quicker middle stint. Lago has also gone into pit lane. He comes out behind Beisner, I think. Beisner has also gone into pit lane. But where does Gobadi go? So he's now come out of pits. He rejoins in P4. But look at that. He has a massive tire offset with the drivers that have made their pit stop earlier on. So now the key question is, can Ave Gobadi get through on Kokeni and Vasso, who are also starting to fight a little bit there? Lago's now behind Dimas. Is a little bit further down the line, but looks like stopping that little bit later was the way to go, as the other drivers were just held up by other drivers on those floor tires. Look at that, Ave Gobadi already so close to the back of Tomas Kokeni. Wants to go side by side in the tunnel, opts to back away from it, goes to the inside, late braking on those mediums, and he is through. He has dispatched one of them. Now, next target, Steven Vasso. 11 lap old hards on fresh new mediums. Can he get through? Can he power through and take over that second place in the race? He will get DRS to play with on the main straight. gets to the back of that McLaren, but is it enough? Uses the ERS, wants to go for a move, tries to go, dive around the inside, but there's no space. He still goes for it, and Abe Body is through. You need to be absolutely dead certain of that move if you want to make it here, because if you stick it around the inside and there's no space, it could end in tears. But Vassal left just enough space for Gobadi to go through, and he finds himself in P2. Great work from him, and also massive props to him staying out so long on those hards. Now swapping onto the mediums, and he's through, as Lago has also managed to overtake Alexander Dimas. So great work so far. Now the next gap for him, 1.3 seconds, but he's going to be towards the back of Kyer within a lap or so, because the tire offset is just so massive tonight. Beisner, who's in 13th, has a tire offset. He can get through faster, but we saw Beater, who was fairly close to the back of Whittler 2 laps ago, still stuck at the back of Victor Whittler in, well, now P9 instead of P10. So the tire offset ends in a couple of laps time, so you need to get those overtakes done in the first couple of laps. After that, you're not going to get much more of an improvement, as Gobadi sets the fastest lap time out there. Lago's now starting to get close on the main straight, but he knows he can't overtake here. Maybe up the hill he can get close enough. He's really eyeballing the back of that Aston Martin. Can he go around the outside? Because he has severe grip. He wants to go around the outside. Turn 3, makes it stick on the inside of 4. That's a big overtake from our championship competitor, our Racing Bull man, and he's up into P5. Great work by Francesco Lago. A point where you really can't overtake, but with the tire offset being as they are with the pit stops, it does manage to work. And look at that, Abe Gobadi has already managed to pull away 5 seconds from Vassal, but he's also managed to gain about 3 seconds on Gabor Jantas, who of course is on aging tires. So strategy also key. I think Jantas has still managed to nail it, but Gobadi definitely a contender for later on if he can claw back at that gap ever so more. He sets the fastest lap time yet again at 1:10.8. That's 4/10 quicker than he was in the previous lap. We go on board with Francesco Lago again, who sets 12 zeros. Not too far off that either. But the next two men on his list for Francesco Lago, Tomás Kokeni and Steven Vassal, wants to go around the outside again. He makes it stick. Can he do it yet again? He's through. He taps the inside ball, but he managed to dispatch Kokeni the same way he got the overtake done in the previous lap. That's massive props to him, continuing that all the way through. But he will need to find another place to overtake Vassal to avoid losing too much time to the man up ahead, Abe Gobadi, because that gap's almost 8 seconds already, mainly coming out of the tunnel. He can't make a move. He's using as much ERS as he can. He's moving to the inside, darts to the inside, tries to make that stick. That's too late. And there's a little tap. There's contact between Vassal and Lago. I don't think Vassal will be too happy with that, but Lago already made the move to the inside and just braking it slowly, and Vassal never really tried to do anything different, just steered in when there was a car there. Lago at least is through now. Kokeni still not. Here comes Beisner though. He's gone to the back of his teammate Langrock. Kyer has gone for pit stop. That is his second pit stop of the race. It's quite an early pit stop, I must say, as Langrock decides to do the same. Yeah, where some drivers have just made their first pit stop, other drivers are already going for their second. Keep in mind, you need to make 2 pit stops in this race. Otherwise, you will be disqualified. Kyer has actually come out very closely behind Alexander Dimas. Dimas has gone for the hard. More drivers have actually stopped for the hards. Rouse a couple laps ago, Tomasetto Elia as well. Carlos Galindo has retired in pit lane. So it looks like he's decided that his offset strategy wasn't going to work. He was way too far behind everyone. Gallané also 11.5 seconds behind Mattia Ramarini, who's also gone for a second pit stop. 2 laps out. Whittler's 1 lap out. Langrock has just stopped. So the drivers that started on the mediums and went to the hards, have now gone for their second pit stop. But with 18 laps still to go, this is either an awfully early pit stop, or they will need to make another one if they want to make it work. Vaso has now gone into pit lane as well. So he's decided, okay, I need to try something else. He wants to stay at least ahead of Dimas. And, well, seeing where Dimas is, that probably... Oh, that's not so safe as it did look. That's not so safe as it did look. Steven Vassel's been overtaken in pit lane by Alexander Dimas. Now he needs to make sure he stays ahead of Kyer, but there's Kyer, and he gets behind him as well. So that earlier pit stop from Dimas and Kyer has managed to throw off Vassel, and he's now tumbling down just a little bit. As further up ahead, the gaps are still nice and smooth, but that's the good work that Jontos and Gobadi have managed to do. I think Lago we can't count in too much, even though he's got a nice 5-second cushion to Kokeni. But he's 9 seconds behind Gabor Jontos. Jontos and Gobadi definitely in the zone you want to be at, and they will be our main drivers to watch further on down the line as they make their second pit stops. Francesco Lago now already goes in. Only 5 laps on those mediums. It's a very early go, but I think he also knows if I make my pit stop now, I can come out ahead of Dimas, and then I don't need to make a pit stop anymore. So this is just a strategy pit stop. He doesn't want to lose more time to the drivers behind. There is Bieder. Bieder will overtake him. That's not necessarily a big problem if he does. Although, I don't think he wants to. No, he stays ahead of Bieder. That's great. And Dimas, indeed, who made that pit stop a little bit earlier, is now breathing down his neck. So, perfect moment for Lago to pit. Had to come from quite far back after qualifying didn't go the way that he would have wanted. But he is now at least ahead of the other drivers that have made 2 pit stops. Let's look at our pit stops. So, 2 stops. Lago from Dimas all the way down. So Bieder, Beisner, Kokeni, Gobadi and Jontos still need to make their pit stops. But if we look at the gap to leader, Jontos has a free pit stop, at least on the drivers behind. Gobadi has one as well, because the next one, Lago, who has made those 2 pit stops, is 30 seconds behind. So Jontos and Gobadi so far still on the right strategy call. The rest, not so much. Lago's gained 2 positions also so far in the race. For Jontos only 1, he qualified P2. Gobadi's up by 4. Beisner currently up by 11, but he still needs to make that pit stop. And he is going to lose a heap of time. I think he'll be right around Galinate after he makes his pit stop. So we can't count him in just yet. Dimas also has gone for a great strategy play. Because he now finds himself in P6. Provisionally, even P4 or 5, depending on where Kokeni is going to come out. We're going to move our details away, at least for the moment. And we are going to tune in to Zalan Bieder, who is feeling the pressure from Steven Vasso, who of course made 2 pit stops, and both times not at the right moment, losing positions in both. Has overtaken in the tunnel. Now that's a brutal way to do so, showing how much better his tires are. But yeah, he has to play catch up with Kyer and Dimas, who he lost out on in this second pit stop sequence, so won't be happy about that at all. As for Tomasetto Alaya, he's getting close to the back of Jansen Rowson. He seems to be holding up quite a few cars indeed. The likes of Alaya, Whitler, Langrock, and Ramarini. Bieder is now in. That's for his second pit stop. A little bump on the back of that Williams from Tomasetto. But can he get through on the start-finish straight? It's so hard with that turn 19 being a corner that needs so much grip to get away. And with the driver ahead getting that grip, of course, earlier, it's not a move that you can just make so easily. Beisner has been overtaken by Lago. Tomasetto Alaya going around the outside. Looks like all the drivers are just doing that. Bieder has crossed the pit lane exit. And that gives him a 10-second time penalty. That is horrible for him. I think we might find him into pit lane later. But yeah, Tomasetto Alaya has gone through. Rowson's still holding up the pack. Let's see where Whitler can make his move. Now behind him in the tunnel, we saw a daring move from his teammate earlier on. It looks like he can't make that stick just yet. Gobadi and Kokeni are both in now. Gobadi knows that if he comes out, it will be ahead of Francesco Lago. So he just needs to make sure that he doesn't tap any walls. And for Jantas, this means that he has a free pit stop and can just eye it out in comparison to Gobadi. Well, he can't wait too long though, because Gobadi was only a couple seconds away. And I think Gobadi will be on the hards. He should be. He is on the hards indeed. But for Jantas, he of course started on those hards. He needs to go to the mediums, and if he switches too early to those mediums, he might get caught up by Gobadi. So Gobadi is on a superior strategy now, and Jantas will be feeling the heat because there he is. Gabor Jantas, our race leader, is in pit lane. He needs to go to the mediums, needs to drive 13 laps on them, and has to hope he can keep Ave Gobadi at bay. This is the key moment of our race here, guys. Can Gobadi leapfrog Gabor Jantas, or will Jantas stay ahead? The gap was only a few seconds prior to the pit stops. Jantas is now coming out. There is Ave Gobadi. If he wants to get through, he needs to do so now. Side by side they go. Gobadi goes through, and he is our new race leader. So that undercut has worked, and he's overcome a deficit of a few seconds. And Gabor Jantas, even though he's on the faster tire, those tires will deteriorate quite a bit towards the end of the race. That's going to make it so much tougher to get ahead of Ave Gobadi. Gobadi is playing the strategy game here, and I just want to look, because Ave Gobadi started in P6, now finds himself in the race lead. So great work by the Ferrari man, who might give us a Ferrari win this season. But of course, we still have quite a few laps to go. We're currently on lap 27 of 39. But let us know in the chat who you think is going to win that race, because it looks like the battle is between Gobadi and Jantas. Here we are then on board with Gabor Jantas, our championship leader. Gap now down to 0.8 of a second. He has DRS on that main straight, but there will be no way to leapfrog Ave Gobadi. And I think the real problem here is because he got that move done with an undercut, doing it on the track is near impossible unless Gobadi makes a mistake. Kokeni's now set the fastest lap time. He's in P7. He might be able to catch up with the drivers up ahead. But yeah, then you still need to overtake, and those drivers only have 4 or 5 lap old tires that are older than the ones that you have. Same problem that Jonter has. Sure, he is on new mediums, but Ave Gobadi is also on fairly new hards. I think the only place where we can really expect any overtakes now is around the place that we're currently watching. Of course, for Beisner as well was in P14, but that's not for any points. Vaso, he will be under pressure by Tomas Kokeni in a bit. That gap's still 2.5 seconds, but Kokeni on much fresher tires might be able to make a move later on down the line. With that, and with 10 laps still to go, gives us a little bit of time to look at the penalties that have come in so far. It's 3 seconds to the name of Victor Wittler, that is for crossing track limits, and it's 10 seconds to Zalan Bieder for crossing the pit lane exit, the white line on pit lane exit. That's given him 10 seconds at it. Now, in terms of pit stops, every car needs to make 2 pit stops. They have done so indeed, so we can only imagine we're not going to see any more pit stops. I say that as Gallané and Bieder have come in, so it looks like they're going for a 3-stopper, and with an offset strategy, still try to make something work. And they probably have to, because otherwise it's no points for them regardless. But we're watching Vaso. Kokeni has caught up with him. That gap was 2.5 seconds the previous lap, now down to 0.6. Bieder has indeed retired from the race. That is due to the penalty that he got. But now then, Vaso, can you overtake Kyer? There's not much more in it for him, and he will be very sad about it. He got pole position in the race, remember. Jantas actually is very close to the back of 8 Gobadi, so he's trying to make sure he gets an overtake done now. He wants to make a move in turn 3. He's done so many times before. A little bit of a slide there as he really is pushing that Red Bull to the max. But getting an overtake done on Monaco, in Monaco, on the wide and twisty sectors is very difficult. He has amped up the pace. He's used half of his battery. If he wants to make a move, I think he has to do so either in turn 1 or turn 3. Other options, don't think there are for Gabor Xantos. He's going for nice braking into the chicane. But you see on exit as well, that Ferrari still has too much traction to get away from him. And he can get closer towards the swimming pool section, but there's no way for him to overtake. So as long as Gobadi doesn't make any mistakes, there is no way through for Gabor Xantos. But he's going to try here on start-finish straight. DRS will be enabled, using quite a bit of ERS, but he already knows he can't go for the overtake just yet. Then through turn 1, Saint Devote, up the hill towards Beau Rivage, and then into Massenet. That's turn 3. He needs to make it work here. He's going to go for a dive here. At least shows his Red Bull car there. But that's all he can do. And Tomás Kokeni actually has managed to overtake Steven Vassell. So that tire offset did work out. And that means Kokeni is now going to be hunting down Kyer and hopefully more drivers to pick up any more points. So we're going to watch Kokeni. He might make a move as early as turn 3, where we've seen quite a few moves come through. Langrock is in pit lane, which gives Ramarini another position. Kokeni had a little cheeky look down the inside of Mirabeau, but that did not work so far. Now through Mirabeau and through Poitiers. Gallonnet set the fastest lap time. It's a 1:10.292. We do find him at the back of the grid in P13 as 10 seconds over common the drivers up ahead. I think the next overtake will have to happen here with Kokeni just behind the Aston Martin of Daniel Kyer in P5. But, is this? I've just noticed something fairly unique. Our top 10, no, our top 7, sorry, Tomasetto Elia ruins that. Our top 7 are all different constructors. It's Tomasetto Elia where the first different constructor comes in. Of course, Haas, we only had one car, and that has DNF'd. But if Rousen and Beisner managed to overtake Elia, of course, that's not going to happen, we would have all different constructors running all the way through. But that stops at the mark of Elias. So our top 7, all different constructors. Go Kenny down the inside of Mirabeau Haute. And he has gone through. That was a massive send down the inside. And he puts that Alpine through into P5. Maybe opening the door for Vasso as well. But Vasso knows if there's a moment to go for the overtake, that has to happen now. And I think he knows that that moment has sailed by already. Unless a mistake comes in from Kyer, he will be stuck in P7. And surely he will be kicking himself after starting on pole position that he won't be making that race win. We're going to go further ahead to our race leader, Ave Gobadi, as I'm going to move that away for you. Xantos is still trying to hunt him down, but look at that behind. Lago, 13 seconds away. Dimas, a further 8 seconds behind that. The top 2 are in a league of their own. And that's all due to strategy. They waited longer on that first stint. The other drivers got stuck behind slower drivers. And that allowed them to not only stop about 7 or 8 laps later, but doing so ahead with an overcut. And a track where the undercut is so notoriously strong. So they have managed to do that quite well. And now the fight is between Ferrari and Red Bull for a win here around the Principality. Xantos, of course, is our championship leader as well. He's looking to extend that lead over on our new man in P2. That's Tomasetto Elia. And I'm in P3 in the standings. Likely to be P2 again if things stay as they are. Francesco Lago. So he's going to gain another 6 points on him. That means he'll be nearing that 16-point gap that he has, which is a race gap worth of points. Look at Tomas Kokeni. He's currently flying down that track. Remember, it was only moments ago that he overtook Daniel Kara and Steven Vasso. They're now 4 seconds behind him. Vasso's still so close to the back of Kara, but he can't get through. And Kokeni is now eyeing his next prize, and that prize is Alexander Dimas in the Mercedes. He's 4th in the standings, 4th in the race, but Kokeni surely has something to say about that. The gap's already down to 2.5, and I think it will be about a lap more before he gets to the back of that Mercedes. So more about that later. First off, we're going to move over to Rowson and Whitler, who is fighting 4 points with Rowson, but having that 3-second time penalty to his name, that's a huge ask. But look at that Gallané. Remember, Jeremy Gallané was 10.5 seconds behind after he made that pit stop 2 or 3 laps ago. He's now at the back of Mattia Ramarini on fresh tires. It was 5 laps ago, okay, so it was not as impressive as it surely did look, but he has managed to catch up. He wants to go for a move down the inside. That's a bit of contact, I think, but he's opted to clear that, at least at the last moment. Jontos' charge on Gabadi seems to be over. That gap is now over a second. Gallané is trying to go for a move. Yeah, he gets a penalty for that. Swimming pool section is not the place where you go for an overtake, and he's gotten a 3-second time penalty for track limits, but that really wasn't the place to go. But I think he knows, if I get some penalties here, does not matter too much. As long as I get ahead of Rowson, I can pull away over 3 seconds and still lock in some points here tonight. So I think regardless of penalties he can pick up, he's going to try and power through in order to at least scoop up any point that he can still get. Further up ahead, I think everything seems to be pretty much stuck. Kokeni, though, has managed to catch up to the back of Alexander Dimas, and he is at a point of the track where he can go for some overtakes. He will need to close down the gap on main straight towards Saint-Deveau, and needs to get the overtake done into Masna, but I don't think he can do so. He's still too far away, but I wonder if those tires are too far gone as well, or if he's just saving up a little bit. Surely he has to slide a little bit with the car as we are approaching the final couple of laps of the race. We're already through on lap 36 of 39. Avgo Body is your race leader and likely to be race winner later on. But I want to see if Gallané is going to make any moves potentially on Whitler and Rowson up ahead. Gallané knows if he can do it, he has to go around the inside. Outside turn 3, that's not the place where you go. And that's another push to pass into Masna. And that is going to warrant another stewards inquiry later on in the race. For Gallané, though, it looks like he just wants to get through as quickly as possible. He can pull away. He is much faster. He is on newer tires. But yeah, getting through, overtaking is oh so difficult here in Monaco. Now then, in the tunnel, he is using that ERS to his disposal. Can he get through though? He's looking to the inside, but he can't get through. He's trying to force an error out of Rowson, but he's still too far away to try and make a move. Now then, through to Bach, into the swimming pool section. He is so close. Ooh, that's a little tap. And with that tap, he is going to get through. So that will be another thing, likely, that the stewards will have to look at later on in the race. It's another punt to pass, so you could say, from Gallané. He has managed to gain 2 places with it. But as I said, definitely something that will be looked into after the race. Now, he has a 13-second gap up ahead, so he just needs to pull away at least 3 seconds before penalties that he has already gotten will be applied. We are going to be looking at Vasso and Alaya, who are at the back of Daniel Kaya. Kaya is 8 seconds away from Dimas. That is not going to be anything. Kokeni, 10 seconds down on Lago, with 2 ahead of Dimas. But yeah, Vasso, he can still make an overtake here. He has to do so quickly. Langrock has caught up with Ramarini, Whitler, and Rowson as well. So maybe he can overtake them quickly. Can still snoop away that point from Gallané. But here is Vaso. Still close. Within 2/10 of Geyer up ahead. He's trying to go for Ascend in turn 3. But is still too far away. Maybe then down towards Mirabel Holt. But also too far away here. And a good inside defense play by Daniel Geyer. So no moves to be made yet. We're going to go further down the line to Dennis Langrock. He is the last man to make a pit stop tonight. 7 lap old mediums against 19 old hards. And he's already through on Ramarini. Pushes him down back to 14. A clean overtake from Langrock. But he still has a few more to go as we are in our final lap. Because not far behind these lot, we find race leader Ave Gobadi. So we're going to stay with him. The action might be elsewhere. But we also have to look at the dominating display from these two. Jantos is 2 seconds behind. But Ave Gobadi with a perfect strategy has done everything right. Staying out long enough. Going for a better stint in the middle session. Oh, Ramarini's gotten a time penalty for cutting corners. He's back ahead of Langrock and Whitler's DNF'd. So not entirely sure what happened there. We might hear more about that later. But here he goes. Ave Gobadi through the swimming pool section. He's been stellar all night. And he's now showing that he can fight with the big guys. It will be his first race win of the season for Ferrari around Monaco. Your race winner, Ave Gobadi, ahead of Gabor Jantos. Great work by these two. There comes Francesco Lago round Anthony Noj for the final podium position. It is P3 for Francesco Lago, but that is all that he could possibly do. We are going to go down to the final few points. Gallané has managed to get a nice enough gap over Rowson. Langrock still behind Ramarini. I don't think he can overtake too much there. Car is feeling the hot air, the hot breath of Steven Vaso, but he's not going to overtake him either. Kyer finishes 6th ahead of Vaso and Tomasetto Alaya. Beisner will be next across the line. And then classified in P10 will be Jeremy Gallané, but he will be on the eyes of the stewards as they are going to look into his antics that made him pass Rowson and Whitler. Whitler, Peter, Galindo, and Labella sadly retired. Ramarini and Langrock have now crossed the line. There was still a penalty for Ramarini, so he won't be finishing ahead of Langrock, but it's race win for this man here. Ave Gobadi picking up his first race win of the season. Lago was so impressed with his pace as well, but there was just no touching his man. The perfect strategy and the perfect way to go at it. Started from P6 on the grid, but takes the race win here for Ferrari. Ahead of Gabor Jantos. Started in P2, finished in P2, but extending his championship lead over Francesco Lago in 3rd. Then it's Tomas Kokeni, Alexander Dimas, Daniel Geyer, Steven Vaso. Tomasetto Alaya can only do P8 here, still picking up some points though. Ahead of Beisner in 9th, and Gallané still a few seconds ahead of Jensen Rowson. But there will be some investigations going on, and indeed Rowson already mentioning it. Punt to pass. No, you can gap and take a penalty. Now we are moving back over to our camera screens. I'm going to move out of the game as well. Looks like everything on the stream is still going nicely, so I hope you enjoyed that a lot. It looks like I was watching the chat, but of course that was still the old chat because I had to restart that stream, so we couldn't see much more about that. But indeed, Ave Gobadi did very well there, Jona. Let's see if we can have a nice interview with them. I'm going to inform the drivers that will be looking to interview our top 3. So yeah, a plagued session once more tonight. We had a couple of issues last time out too. But yeah, it just is what it is. It looks like Ave Gobadi is already waiting in the waiting room, so that is good news. So let's see if we can watch him indeed. Please have an interview with him. Yeah, we'll just wait and see if the other drivers are going to come in. I am quickly going to move over to our interview overlay, and we're going to have an interview with our top three, at least with Ave Gobadi. So there we are then. We have moved him in, winning for Ferrari in the Principality of Monaco. Ave Gobadi, you must be over the moon.
Yeah, hello. First of all, I wanted to say thanks to everyone. Pleasure being here. Yeah, finally the result I expected since the beginning, but you know, it's a really hard tier, and from moving from F4 to F3, it's not a walk in the park. So first of all, GG to Gabor and to everyone else. They really pushed me really hard all race. So yeah, congrats to them. And yeah, I'm over the moon. I'm sweating mostly, but yeah, it was really fun. I always enjoy Monaco. Thanks to my engineer Matthias also a lot. He helped me. But yeah, the pace I expected, the pace I delivered in the race. Well, not in quali, but in the race at least I managed the tires and the strategy well. So yeah, finally the result I expected.
Yeah, great way to pick up your first points of the season with a race win here in Monaco. First go, of course, to the qualifying session. That was a very rain-plagued session where we had to struggle watching whether it was wet tires or intermediate tires. You managed to qualify yourself in P6. Were you happy with your qualifying session?
No, because well, you saw the provisional times when at this minute of during the qualifying laps, like at the beginning stages, I was getting pole, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But then it was quickly stolen because, you know, track evolution and everyone's muscle memory kicks in. So my last lap would have been pole, but I did a big mistake in the chicane, and in the hairpin. So yeah, lesson learned at least from all these qualifyings recently. But yeah, hopefully this momentum continues and I'll keep pushing.
Yeah, I think the main question here tonight was that everyone had to go for different strategies given the fact that we had 2 pit stops. Now you opted to stay out a lot longer in that first stint, seeing a lot of drivers already come in around lap 4 or 5. Were you expecting the other drivers to come in so early?
To be honest, I think so. Yeah, I did because, well, starting from the back in Monaco is you need a miracle to, or you need really good pace, or you need a miracle to gain a lot of positions. But the good thing is the 2-stop, which makes strategies interesting. And yeah, I think me and I think it was someone else, if I'm not mistaken, who did the hard, medium, hard, which in my opinion is, I don't think it could be the fastest or one of the fastest, but at least I made it work the best. So yeah, I'm happy for that. And it's not going to be easy to replicate these results. But yeah, I will do my best and hopefully this won't be my last win. Hopefully though.
Yeah, because we saw in the first stint you managing to go for that overcut with a lot of drivers being stuck behind slower cars. You managed to leapfrog quite a few. And then with your second pit stop, you went with the undercut on Gabor Jantos. It was very tight on pick exit, but you managed to overtake him as well. And then suddenly you were leading the race.
Yeah, we were discussing like after every corner what to do with the strategy. And the undercut, I called it in, but the rest, my engineer obviously helped me a lot. But the main reason why I think I got the lead was the last second of the last corner. I just said I'm boxing, and I was just full push on the outlap. And I did. I full pushed. I risked a lot in the middle sector, but big risk, big reward, I guess.
Wow, you did manage to make it work perfectly. A great strategy from P6 to the race win. Looking at the calendar that we still have, at least coming up onto the break, we still have Austria, Canada, Silverstone, and Mexico. Which of those 4 tracks is going to be your favorite?
I like Austria, Canada, Britain, and Mexico. I don't know. I have to see. I have to practice a lot, obviously. There's not a track that I don't like. It's just a track that I struggle in some. But yeah, just gotta keep my head clear with qualifyings and the race. And I think I'll be good, hopefully. Well, at least I'm learning. So first time in Tier 3, first time driving with these amazing drivers. So yeah, looking forward for the upcoming races.
That sounds great. Well, with that, I've also run out of questions. Ave, congratulations on your race win, your first win in F3 as well. And hopefully it will be not just a win to remember, but one of many to come.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
All right, hopefully see you soon.
Yep, cheers.
Alright, so sadly that is it for the interviews already. We're not seeing any other drivers in the waiting room, so there won't be much more to talk about. At least we had the opportunity to talk with our race winner, Ave Gobadi, who managed to get the perfect strategy going. And the main thing that he needed to do there. The first stint worked because the other drivers were held up, and then he managed to cut down that gap to Jantos, being on those mediums. Just flying through the track, cutting down the gap, but was like 10 seconds down to almost 3, and then the undercut 1 lap earlier, just coming out ahead. And at that point I think he knew, unless Jantos can catch me in the next few laps due to a mistake of my own, there is absolutely no way I am going to lose this race. And indeed he didn't do so. He didn't cave when Jantos got within 1 or 2 tenths. He managed to stay ahead, build over on that gap, and take his first race win of the season. As a matter of fact, his first points of the season. So great work by Ave Gobadi. And with that, I'm going to take another quick look to the calendar. I already mentioned that we now have 4 races in a row. Next week, the 27th of November, we'll be going to Spielberg, Austria for the Red Bull Ring race. Then it will be the 4th of December race in Canada around the streets of Montreal. Then we move over to our most iconic perhaps track of the calendar at all, the 11th of December, a race in Silverstone, and then before the Christmas break, the final race in 2025 in Mexico, before we have our break week and we resume in January 8th in Jeddah, the 15th in Brazil, and our season finale, the 22nd of January in Abu Dhabi. But next week up is Austria. Then I will be joined by Max once more. If you want to hear more of Max, you can find him in F2 right now. So make sure to tune in with that as well. Max and Omi are covering that for you for yet more action on Monaco. For F3, this was it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, and see you now next week.